It is 0224 hours local time on the 29th of October in the year 2024. The location is the disputed waters of the East China Sea. We are positioned 300 feet beneath the surface of the Pacific. The vessel is the USS Hartford, designated SSN 768. This is a Flight 3 Los Angeles-class nuclear-powered fast attack submarine. The submarine is operating in a condition of ultra-quiet ship rigging. She is currently patrolling just inside the first island chain perimeter. This region represents one of the most acoustically complex environments on Earth. The shallow depth and high traffic density create a chaotic soundscape. Commercial shipping lanes overhead generate a constant, deafening background noise. This acoustic clutter serves as the primary camouflage for submarine operations.
However, the tactical situation has just shifted from surveillance to immediate danger. Aboard the Hartford, the ANBQQ-10 sonar suite registers a contact. The waterfall display on the broadband console shows a sudden spike. This is not biological noise, and it is not commercial traffic prop wash. The acoustic signature corresponds to a high-power, medium-frequency active sonar. The origin is a surface vessel located 8,000 yards off the bow. The source has been identified as a Type 055 Renhai-class cruiser. This vessel is the CNS Nanchang, designated Hull 101. The Nanchang is currently the most advanced surface combatant in the PLN fleet. She is flooding the water column with high-decibel acoustic energy. The pulses are designed to penetrate the thermal layers of the ocean. This is a deliberate sanitation sweep intended to locate submerged adversaries.
The tactical reality is that the Hartford has likely been detected. The physics of sound in this salinity profile favor the surface ship. We must understand the technical gravity of this specific engagement scenario. This is not a routine freedom of navigation exercise or a drill. This is a kinetic intersection between two apex predators of the sea. The USS Hartford is conducting a sensitive intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission. This involves recording electronic emissions and mapping thermal layer gradients. The objective is to build a library of acoustic signatures for analysis. The Type 055 cruiser represents a massive denial of area asset. She is equipped with a hull-mounted SJD-9 active sonar system. She also deploys a variable depth sonar from her stern ramp. The combination creates a sensor net that is difficult to evade.
The crew of the Hartford is now operating in an elevated state. The control room is bathed in red lighting to preserve night vision. The officer of the deck orders a rigorous check of the bathythermograph. They are looking for the thermocline, or the layer depth. Sound waves bend when they hit layers of water with different temperatures. If the submarine can get below the layer, the sound may bounce off. This physical phenomenon creates a shadow zone where the sub is invisible. The Nanchang, however, is using active processing to punch through that layer. The sonar sphere on the Hartford bow detects the pulse interval shortening. This indicates that the cruiser is in a tracking mode, not search mode. The ping interval drops from 10 seconds to 5 seconds and decreases. This is the acoustic equivalent of a radar lock on a fighter jet.
The fire control team aboard the Hartford begins distinct target motion analysis. They are calculating the range rate and bearing drift of the cruiser. The mood in the attack center is one of disciplined procedural focus. There is no panic, only the rapid exchange of mathematical data. The captain assesses the rules of engagement for this specific theater. The standing orders are to avoid detection and deconflict immediately. However, the Nanchang has just escalated the engagement cycle. The sound of a hatch opening on the cruiser deck is detected. This is followed by the distinct splash of a rocket-assisted projectile. The acoustic signature confirms a U-8 anti-submarine torpedo launch. This weapon is delivered to rocket to the vicinity of the submarine. Once in the water, it activates its own active homing sonar seeker.
The time for passive evasion has now expired completely. The Hartford captain initiates emergency deep scenarios and defensive procedures. He orders the helm to flank speed and full depression on planes. The reactor plant runs up to 100% power output. The screw begins to cavitate, creating a massive wash of noise. Stealth is sacrificed for the raw necessity of kinetic survival. The weapons officer initiates the launch sequence for countermeasures. The Hartford ejects an ADC Mark III acoustic device countermeasure. This is a 3-inch device that hovers and emits noise. It is designed to seduce the incoming torpedo away from the hull. Simultaneously, the captain authorizes a snapshot return fire capability. This is a defensive reactive shot to suppress the launching platform.
A Mark 48 advanced capability torpedo is ejected from Tube 2. This weapon is the Mod 7 Common Broadband Advanced Sonar System. It is wire-guided, allowing the submarine to steer it manually. The torpedo accelerates to over 50 knots, closing the gap rapidly. The wire unspools from the submarine, maintaining a data link. The fire controlman updates the solution based on the cruiser's evasion. The Nansham realizes the submarine has fired back and initiates a turn. The cruiser attempts a hard starboard rudder to comb the wake. They deploy their own acoustic decoys and towed torpedo countermeasures. However, the geometry of the engagement favors the submarine's weapon. The Mark 48 ADCAP utilizes both active and passive sonar logic. It discriminates between the decoys and the actual metal hull.
The weapon ignores the cloud of bubbles and locks onto the screws. The torpedo enters the terminal homing phase and activates its warhead. The detonation occurs underneath the keel of the Type 055 cruiser. This utilizes the principle of the gas bubble effect to break the back. The explosion creates a void of water that the ship falls into. The structural integrity of the keel fails at frame 45. The cruiser lists heavily as watertight compartments are compromised. Aboard the Hartford, the wire is cut and the guidance loops severed. The submarine is now running blindly into the deep sound channel. The explosion has deafened the sensors for a significant radius. The captain orders an immediate reduction in speed to minimize noise. They must transition back to ultra-quiet state instantly to survive.
The immediate threat is neutralized, but the area is now hot. The destruction of a capital ship will trigger a massive response. The Hartford seeks a negative temperature gradient to hide within. The crew monitors the towed array for any sign of air assets. The Chinese Navy will deploy Z-9 helicopters with dipping sonar. They will also scramble maritime patrol aircraft to drop sonobuoys. The ocean around the wreck site is now a chaotic sensor field. The Hartford must navigate through a minefield of acoustic sensors. The sonar operators are listening for the splash of active buoys. Each buoy emits a ping that can verify the submarine's position. The submarine maneuvers at 3 knots, simply drifting with the current. The goal is to sound like biological noise or shifting tectonic plates. The captain utilizes the wreckage noise as a localized mask.
The sounds of the sinking cruiser clutter the enemy processors. This tactical improvisation allows the Hartford to slip the net. Hours pass in a state of absolute silence and tension. The crew remains at battle stations, monitoring every transient sound. A new threat emerges on the port bow towed array sensor. It is a rhythmic, high-frequency electric motor signature. This is identified as a HSU-001 unmanned underwater vehicle. It is a large displacement autonomous drone used for hunting. The drone is programmed to sweep the area in a grid pattern. It does not suffer from fatigue or fear or hesitation. The Hartford cannot outrun the drone without making noise. The captain decides to execute a daring tactical halt. He orders the submarine to all stop and hover in the water. The crew shuts down all non-essential pumps and fans.
The reactor is placed in a low-flow natural circulation mode. The submarine hangs suspended in the black water column. The drone passes within 2,000 yards of the hull. Its side-scan sonars are looking for a metallic anomaly. However, the anechoic coating on the Hartford absorbs the energy. The drone processes the return as a biological mass or rock. It continues its search pattern, moving away to the east. The crew exhales collectively as the signal fades into static. The discipline of the crew has defeated the automated algorithm. The Hartford slowly engages the propulsion motor and clears the datum. They utilize the complex bottom topography to mask their exit. The submarine transits east toward the safety of the Marianas Trench. The tactical engagement is concluded, but the strategic impact remains.
The loss of the Nanchang changes the balance of power. It proves that surface superiority is fragile against subsurface threats. The Hartford surfaces 3 days later outside the harbor of Guam. The hull is intact, but the psychological weight is heavy. The captain files a classified casualty report via secure uplink. The log states defensive engagement with hostile surface combatant. The outcome is listed as target neutralized, with 0 friendly loss. The political ramifications are handled far above the pay grade. Diplomats will trade accusations while intelligence agencies analyze data. But the tactical lesson of the engagement is absolute and clear. In the domain of modern naval warfare, detection equals destruction. The surface of the ocean is a killing ground for the visible.
I'm telling you.
True maritime supremacy resides in the ability to remain unseen. The technology of the Mark 48 and the Type 055 is irrelevant. The deciding factor was the procedural discipline of the crew. They managed the acoustic spectrum better than the adversary did. The ocean has returned to a state of deceptive calm. The shipping lanes are full and the trade routes are open.
Thank you,
But
Chief.
beneath the surface, the silent war continues without pause. Every maneuver is a calculation of risk and acoustic energy. The line between peace and war is drawn in water. It is maintained by the silent professionalism of the submarine force. We must ask ourselves what the second engagement will yield. Will the autonomy of drones eventually overmatch human intuition, or will the adaptability of the sailor remain the ultimate weapon?
In the digital battle space, information is the only hard currency. The ocean keeps its secrets, but the data tells the truth. For those who operate in the deep, silence is armor. And for the rest of the world, ignorance is a luxury.